to make my world a lot easier and to get a better grasp on Power BI, I create another one and I call it dim date term, and we're going to do that now. It helps because you're on your foundational calendar, you have active employees, and you also too are bringing in information about terminated employees, and you're not going to get that unless you use something called use relationship, but that is something that you might not need to use. And if you don't have to overcomplicate your process to get going on this, let's not. So let's just hit the easy button and create a dim date termination calendar. So you get to do the dim date calendar all over again. So let's do that. So we click on employee hire dates, and we're going to go to new table. So you're going to go to table tools, and in table, we're going to go dim date term. Okay. Now this isn't going to really connect to our terminated dates. It's just going to allow us to do a different hookup, and you're going to see exactly what we're talking about. So just hold on and we'll get there. So we're going to go calendar, auto calendar, close parentheses, and hit enter. And we have exactly the duplicate of dim date, but now we just have to go ahead and create everything that we did in our last step. Okay, and we want to take the time off, so we highlight it, we go to format, and we want the month, day, and year. All right, and now we want to go to new column. We want to create a year. Okay. Okay, year, dim date, term date, and that's that. Okay. We want to create a new column again. This is the month name. And we want to go month. Actually, we want to go dim date and then by month, hit enter. Okay, and we want to hit a new column. We want to do month number. And we want to serve up month number, hit enter. And then again, what do we do at this step? We need to sort the month name by the month number. So we select month name. We select in the column tools, sort by column, and we want to sort by number. So this is forcing this column to use this sorting sequence. And that's going to help limit a lot of your problems that you're going to face if you don't do this. So, and then one last column. Let's try this again. One last column, and this is going to be the quarter. And we're going to use quarter numbers. And that's that. So again, we have the term date, we have the date, year, month name, month number, and we have the quarter. So now we have a really strong start to our calendar. I'm going to go up here, I'm going to save it really quickly. And then when we go to the back end, we could see that we have the term date and we have the dim date. Now, this is where you need to start hooking things up. It's kind of like a car. The car has to be connected, all in the gears and everything in order for the car to run. Well, you need to kind of like plug things in. And so you see that there's the hire date for the employee hire and term date. You want to drag this over to the dim date, and the dim date we're just going to assume is the hire date, and it has now a connection, and you double click on it, you could see that it says, okay, take the hire date from the hire and term dates column, and then I want you to connect it to this date in the dim date column. And then you're going to do the same for the term date. And you're going to get the same. And when you double click on it, you have the employee hire term dates right here connected to the dim date term. So we have our first connection made. And sometimes if it doesn't do what you want, you might have to select the single to both, or many to one, or one to many. Sometimes you just have to kind of wiggle a couple of things in order to get it to work. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to go back into our hire and term dates so we can extract the tenure information. And the first thing we do here is we go over to the data icon, we click it. We click on employee hire and term date, and you could see that there is a term date and it is blank. There are a lot of dates in here. If you select the down arrow, you could see that here's all of the termination dates. And in the hire, we kind of want to clean this up. We want to format this into a month, day, year. So it's much tighter and cleaner and neater. We don't need all that information visually here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to click on term date, and then we want to hit new column. And then we're going to type in today or term. And so what we're going to do is we're going to write a formula that says if the term date is blank, insert today's date, otherwise use the termination date. So, and we begin by going if the we want to go if the employee term date is blank, and you can use your down arrows to select this, comma, then insert today's date, or just use the term date if it's not blank. We go here, okay, and we want to go format, okay, to month, day. Okay, so in the blank ones, it put today's date, and then, but you can see it kept all of the other term dates, and that's what we want. And we want to select this whole area and make sure it's using that month, day. Okay, next we want to create two calculated columns, and these will be the only calculated columns that we'll use in our foundational dashboards. I try not to use calculated columns, but for this instance, we want to create a column that tells us how many days this employee has worked. And we're going to go new column. And we're going to go name this tenure days equals dated if the employee hire date. Take the first one, and then the employee term date. So you take the difference between those, and then you're going to then select day, and then that's going to say serve me up how many days they have worked. So what's the difference between those two dates? And serve me up that information as days. Oh, and here it didn't work because I made the mistake of taking employee hire term date. Now, if they're active, in this term date column, it's blank. So it's not going to calculate anything, but I wanted to use the today or term date column. So I go back here and I backspace until it kind of gives me something different. And then I go to the end and I hit enter again. And there we go. Now it's calculating not only the active employees, how many days they have worked for this company, but also to the terminated employees as well. So next, days doesn't really help us that much. So what we want to do is now we want to create a column that calculates the years worked. So we want to create a new column. And we're going to name it tenure years. And we're going to go divide. This is simple math. We're going to divide the EE tenure days by 365. And then we're going to close column, close parentheses, and then we get the year. Now we don't really want all of those decimal points, so this is a decimal number. We format that as a decimal number, and then it gave us 2 spots. We actually only need 1, so we don't drive ourselves too crazy with the numbers. And now we have our tenure days and our tenure years for active and our terminated employees without having to run a report of their actual tenure with this company. So let's go back. Excuse me. Now we are able to create our first measure. And so in order to do that, we want to be as tidy and neat as possible. So we're going to keep all of our measures in the same place. And we're going to do that by going to Home and select Enter. And then down here in the name, we're going to say measure. So measure dash employee information. And then we'll go EE info.